All right, good morning and welcome to Just Daf It, the Daf Yomi Shir, led by Ben Sion Lang. We're learning today Maseches Yevamos, Daf 43, number M Gimel. We have a wonderful shir for you today. We're going to be discussing some interesting things. One of the things that we're going to be discussing is concept of one of the dim in the Mishnah, which talks the previous Mishnah, which talked about Avelus, getting engaged in a period of Avelus. Rabbi Yossi mentions at the end of the Mishnah. Are you letting getting engaged? Erisin is a mutter, Shas Avelus of your husband that died. The Gemara has a very interesting distinction, trying to differentiate between the Avelus of Tisha B'Av and the Avelus of losing a husband. That really is going to be the subject of the Yevamos. It's really the end of the Gemara, which differentiates between the two, and an explanation of that distinction will be provided in Yevamos. Stay tuned for that. The rest of the Gemara gets into that and discusses that. So let's get started. We left off yesterday, Mem Beis and Beis, where we were talking about who the halacha follows, like when you have anonymous opinions and you have at a different place you have a machlokes. So we're about 5 lines from the bottom. Rabbi Abau, when he was walking with his attendant, his gabbai, Rabbi Nachum, he was sort of leaning on it for support. I guess he was an older man. Rabbi Nachum took the opportunity to ask him questions. He asked him the following: if you see in a Mishnah that there's an opinion, there's a yachid, someone, one opinion or two opinions, it mentions specific rabbis. And then the Mishnah mentions an opinion anonymously, without attributing it to a certain Tana. He says, therefore, you see the fact that the Mishnah finished off with an anonymous opinion, the halacha follows the anonymous opinion. If you have an anonymous opinion and then you have a dissenter or dissenters, now we don't follow stam. Let's say you have an anonymous Mishnah, and the Brisa talks about the same exact thing. Brisa says something that wasn't, Rebbe didn't include in the Mishnayos, but it was included, Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Oshia included in Brises. So, and there's a machlokes and a Brisa. We go with the more important, decider of halacha, decisive of halacha, the Mishnah. We go follow the anonymous opinion of the Mishnah. Machlokes of Masisin, some of a Brisa. Let's say there's machlokes in a Mishnah and a Brisa anonymously states an opinion like one side. Amar lei. So the Gemara says, "I'm Gilman al the top." Rebbe lo shna Reb Chia minayin lo Reb Chia, who taught the Brises. If he didn't learn it from Rebbe, where did he learn it from? So the fact that the Mishnah, anonymous opinion in the Mishnah, is going to be attributed to Rebbe, and Rebbe was the Rebbe. Rebbe was the Rav, the Rebbe of Rabbi Chia. So the fact that Rabbi Chia taught in a Brisa, obviously Rabbi Chia held like Rebbe. So if it's a Brisa that has a machlokes, it wasn't obviously Rabbi Chia didn't write that Brisa, and that's not authoritative. If Rabbi Chia didn't write it, so we go like the Mishnah. Amar lei. You could interpret this line the other way. When I originally read the Gemara, I'm just giving Arshkel's opinion. I would have explained that Rabbi Chia taught all the Brises. So obviously he learned it from Rebbe. So therefore, if there's machlokes in the Mishnah and there's a stam in the Brisa, obviously Rabbi Chia learned it from Rebbe. And therefore, the Brisa has just as much authority as the Mishnah. And if it's anonymous in the Brisa, we go with the anonymous opinion in the Brisa. That's the way I would have learned it, but the Arshkel says differently. You can choose whichever way you want to learn. I would like to learn it the second way, but I think Rebbe, the Rashi learns. Rashi seems to learn like the first one, like Arshkel. Amrle Batanan, is this really true? What these klolim, these general rules that you taught me about? Batanan misrek shall pishton. Right, we're gonna have a case. This is a case Um, a Mishnah, Mr. Shalpish, have a comb that you use for combing flax or linen. Shenitlu Shenov, the teeth were removed from him, and Shtayr Bushtayim. And there were only 2 teeth remaining to comb the flax, to comb the linen. Tmeos, the comb is still tameh because it can be used as a kli. It still has functionality. Achas tahora. If it only has 1 tooth, then it's tar. It can't use to comb anything. Makulan shnitlu achas b'nei asman tmeos. The thing, the teeth, the tooth that was separated, even though separated separately, it's still the teeth itself. The tooth itself is still tameh. It's still a kli because it could be used to clean out a lamp, or it could be used as a hook. Shel semer. What about a comb to comb wool? Shenitlu shenav. Again, its teeth fell out; they're taken out. Achas me'atayim tohar. Let's say one by one, between every 3 teeth, you took out the middle one. So it was you took one by one, and it only had teeth that were far apart. So therefore, the comb becomes tahar. It's not tamei anymore. It's not a kli. Shtayru gil makom echad. If there were 3 teeth left in one place, tamei, then it is functional to comb wool, and it retains, or still susceptible to makabel tuma. Haisach hitzona achas man tahora. If one of the 3 was the outermost tooth on the comb, everyone knows if you have a comb, those little black combs, the outer teeth are very thick. They're not really functional as the thinner inner teeth. So one of those 3 is the outer tooth, so it's not good enough. He took off 2 teeth and he used it and fashioned it into tweezers. Tmeos. Again, it becomes a kli. It's susceptible to ma'achas. Veskino and there, he took off 1 tooth and he fixed it. And fashioned it in a way that it should be able to clean out a lamp, only mituach, or to be able to stretch things out, or I guess to hang things on. Tmeya becomes tamei. V'kaimalan, we hold that in halacha is a mishnah. Halacha doesn't follow the mishnah, even though it's a stam. It's not of his mishnah. It doesn't say who it was taught by. Why don't we follow the opinion of the stam? Amrle, he said you can't bring a question from that. Barminada, you can't bring a question from this Mishnah. The Rabbi Yochanan on Mishnah. They said this doesn't have the authority of a Mishnah. It's not a Mishnah. We'll see why in a second. My time. The Reisha, the beginning of the Brisa of the Mishnah, doesn't accord with the end of the Mishnah. If it was a comb used to comb wool, if you took one and left one, it's tar. It's no longer susceptible to tuma. If 2 are left together, then it's tamei. And then it says at the end of this discussion about the comb for wool, gimel tamei. Only if you have 3 teeth together, then it's tamei. Gimel inshtayim lo. So you see that 2 is not good enough. So what is it? 2 seems to be good or not good. So because it doesn't make sense to the Mishnah, so therefore we throw it out. My kusha, what's the question? It's really not a question, meaning in a woolen comb you have 2 rows of teeth. You have thinner teeth and you have thicker teeth on the outside. So on the thinner teeth, to hold, which just holds the wool, then you need 2. And the Sefer was talking about the thicker ones on the outside, which actually do the combing. You have to have 3. Wool is very hard to comb through. It's a very thick, it's a very tangly substance. Elamahacha. So what's the question? A different question. If you took any one of the teeth from the woolen comb, it's tamei. I'm sorry, from the flax comb. The ratio says on the flax comb, you took one, even though you didn't fix it, it's still tamei because you can use it as a hook. You can use it to clean out a lamp or clean out your shaver. Ema seifa. Say that seifa. Achas v'eskino l'ner l'mituach tmei. When it comes to the woolen comb, you take out 1 tooth and you have to fashion it. You have to change it so that it's functional to clean out a shaver, to clean out your candle. Hitkina in lo, hitkina lo. It says that if you fashioned it, but without fashioning, it's not good enough. The ratio seems to imply even if you don't fashion. Amar Abaye. Abaye says this can't be the problem. Akusha dila habikatayu habalokatayu. The ratio was talking about when you detached it, you detached it with part of the actual base of the comb. So therefore, it already was able in this place to grasp onto it to clean out your shaver, to clean out your comb, to clean out your candle. Take the wicks out of those candles that you light for Shabbos. But the Seifa was talking about the one comb was talking about where you took off the tooth, you just chopped it off without taking part of the base, so therefore you have to add on something so you'll have to grasp it. So maybe it's not a question. I'm Rav Papa, my kush, my Rav Papa, here's a second problem with this rejection of Rabbi Yochanan and Lakish. My kusha dilma habikatin tahaba limto. Alternatively, you can say if it's a small tooth, right, then you need something to grasp it. Haba limta, the different sizes of the teeth, right? When it comes to a flax comb, its the teeth are bigger, so therefore you have something to hold it. When it comes to a woolen comb, a woolen tooth, you need more control over your combing, so therefore they're smaller teeth. So you have to have what to grab onto it. It's a small thing. You need to hitkina. You have to fix it to be able to grab onto to use the tooth by itself. El mishum de Masayim by Dafkani. The reason Rabbi Rish Lakish threw it out is because the people who knew the prices or knew the Mishnayos very well, they said, no, this is not exactly the way it was written. You have to conclude Zu Divrei Rabbi Shimon, that this Mishnah is the words of Rabbi Shimon, so it's no longer anonymous. It's an opinion of a Tana of Rabbi Shimon, and therefore, since it's an opinion of Rabbi Shimon, therefore you can throw it out because it's not an anonymous Mishnah. It's only taught by one person, and we learn elsewhere a Bryce or a Mishnah that's otherwise, so therefore they threw it out. Shalach Rabbi Chia, let's go back to our Mishnah about waiting 3 months. Shalach Rabbi Chia bar Avin Ma'arstin Tok Gimel Ve'in Osin Ma'isa. Ve'in Osin Ma'isa. He says you can actually get Erisin within 3 months. Or we said the Tanakama of our Mishnah. You and Rabbi Yossi argue. Tanakama says you can't even do Erisin. You can't even get engaged within 3 months after a woman can get engaged after she gets divorced or her husband dies. And that's how we practically observe. So he said you're allowed to do it within Tov Gimel. And they quoted all you do need to wait a certain amount of time. You have to have Rubo Shal Rishon, which would be, let's say, a month is 30 days, so I guess 16 days from the first month. Rubo Shal Shlishi, and 16 days from the second one. Then Sal Yishalim. And technically, a 30-month middle one. So that would be 16 plus 16 plus 30. You get about 62 days. You have to wait 60 days instead of 90 days. Amemar Charlie Ars B'Yom Tishim. Amemar wasn't so makel, but he allowed at least on the 90th day to get engaged. You have to wait a full 3 months. You don't count the day that he died. The husband died. You don't count the day that he got engaged. You have to wait 30 days. You can't get engaged on the 30th day. You have to wait a full 30 days, not including the day that he died, and then get engaged the following day. That one that you have to wait, you don't include the day that the person died. You don't include the day that you get Eris, and that's regarding marrying a woman who is nursing, not a woman who we're concerned maybe she's pregnant. We don't know if she's pregnant or not. We learned previously, right? If you want to marry a woman who's nursing, you have to wait 24 months after the husband dies to marry her, to get engaged. And for the chavdal of those 24 months, it doesn't include the day that he died, and it doesn't include the day of the erizin. The like Gemara says, like Gemara challenges, who da'avad sudas erizin yom tishim after the rava l'sudase. So you want to say what? You can get engaged on the 90th day, but there was an incident where someone did a sudas erizin on the 90th day, and Rava destroyed. He came in the middle. He made a big fuss. He came in. He turned over the plates. He cracked the dishes. He threw the food on the floor. He threw the food into the face of the chassan and khan. I'm joking. I don't know if you want to say a rabbi would do that. He wouldn't throw food, obviously. He was very upset, apparently. He ruined it somehow. I don't know. He ruined it because he kept on darshaning for the whole thing. I don't know. Whatever it was, he ruined it. So he wasn't happy about it. So he's not allowed to do it on the 90th day. He sudas nisuin havai. The Gemara says, no, that wasn't a sudas eris, and that was a sudas nisuin. That was a wedding. And that's for sure not allowed. But Hilchasa and halacha follows. What's the halacha? Shana Zarsa about 24 months, not including the day that the baby was born, and not including the day of the Erisin, 24 months in between. Seemingly, the Tanakama, you have to wait 3 months, not including the day the husband died, and also you have to wait a full 90 days, and then you can do the Erisin on the following day. Now Rabbi Yossi has a shita. He says you can get nisarsa, you can get engaged within 3 months, anytime you want 3 months, except in Almana, her husband died. She can't because she has to seemingly wait 30 days. She can get it after 30 days, not 90 days. After 30 days, she can get Erusin according to Rabbi Yossi. She has 30 days. She has to know like avelos for her husband that died. Amar Rav Chisda Kava Chomer. Rav Chisda is a Kava Chomer. But Makom Shasar Lachabes Motor Liares. We're going to see by Tisha B'av. There's a time that you can't launder your clothing. You still can get engaged. Makom Shmotor Lachabes. And then there's Motor Liares, right? You're allowed, if your husband dies, you're allowed to wash your clothes. I think after 7 days, within 30 days, for sure you're allowed to wash your clothes. Only the first 7 days you can't wash your clothes. Within 30 days you can wash your clothes. Certainly you should be allowed to get engaged within 30 days. Because by Tisha B'av, right, where you can't launder your clothes, you can get Erison. So they have for here where you can launder your clothes. Certainly you should be able to do Erison in 30 days. The Gemara says, Mahi, where's the source of this question? It's not Shabbos Shechal Tisha B'av B'Socha. This is a Mishnah in Mesechus Tainus. If you're with me, Mesechus Tainus, you're one of the few. If you're with me in Mesechus Yevamos right now, you're one of the few. But ultimately, I don't know when. Eventually, I think people will join my share on a continuous basis. I believe one day, I'm saying this for the record over here, you can quote me on this. And go back to Yevamos Mem Gimel. I believe the entire Klal Yisrael, and even non-Jews who want to get a sense of Torah, will listen to my Daf Yomi share, only my share, not any other share. It is the best share, and I believe, full-hearted belief, that every Jew from all four corners of the world will listen to my Daf Yomi share, be glued to my Daf Yomi share, will enjoy my Daf Yomi share. Most of them also will be sure to check out Enoch Ben Sion, and they become real Talmidei Chacham and real understanders of the Gemara, and be able to machadesh on themselves, and understand the Gemara on a deeper level. With all seriousness, I'm saying this. I believe in myself. If you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you? I at least believe in myself. I give the best share out there. I give the best Ian share out there. I give the best Mishnah Yomi share out there. The best Ian Mishnah Yomi share out there. Eventually, all Kaddish will listen to all these shiurim, and it'll be great. Because you'll be learning properly, you'll be learning enjoyably, having a good time also. And I'll be famous and have a lot of money, so that'll also be good. All right. So the Gemara says, where we know this from? It's not Shabbos Shechal and Tish in Mesechus Tainus. Shabbos Shechal Tisha B'av B'Socha. Shabbos, the week where Tisha B'av falls during that week, right? Also, that's really the source. 9 days is really an invention that the Ashkenazim came up with. That week you can't get a haircut and you can't wash your clothes. If Tisha B'av falls on Friday, you're allowed to wash your clothes for the Shabbos that falls the day after Tisha B'av. They call it a Shabbos. Tanya, before this time, Rashi explains this, that starting from Tisha B'av, some people say from the 3 weeks, you're not supposed to do so much work. You're not supposed to engage in so much commerce. You're not supposed to build. You're not supposed to plant trees. But you could get engaged. Although Cohenson, you can't get married. Even though you get engaged, you can't make a fancy meal out of it. You can't make a vort. So the Gemara says that brisa. So you see over there that the period where you can't wash your clothes the week of Tisha B'av. You couldn't do Erison. Right? So Gitanahi Kodem the Kodem. The Gemara originally thought Kodem Azmanazeb, meaning before this time, means before the day of Tisha B'av. And therefore the Brisa was talking about the week of Tisha B'av. And it said the Brisa says you could do Erison. So the previous Mishnah said you can't do laundry during that week, but you could do Erison. The next Brisa says. The answer is no. He coded the Kodem. That was talking about from Rosh Chodesh Av. But during the week, you couldn't do Erusin either. I'm a Rav, according to Kodem, Nami Kavachomer. Even if you want to say the Bryce is talking about Erusin and his mutter starting from 3 weeks or starting from 9 days. About Makom Shasu Lisa Velite and Makom Amutale Ares, right? You're not supposed to do it. It says Mamata, you're not supposed to do a lot of commerce. You're allowed to get engaged. Makom Shemuta Lisa Velite and Din Shemutale Ares. When it comes to Avelos for your husband, right? You're for sure allowed to do commerce. There's no restrictions on commerce. Certainly, you should be able to get met. You should be able to get engaged. So the Gemara has to find a way out for Rabbi Yossi. Let's take about Rabbi Yossi. Omer Kol Nashim Yisarso. Ema Kol Nashim Yinasu. You have to change the words of Rabbi Yossi in the Mishnah. He doesn't mean all the women can get engaged. He really meant all the women can even get married. This is a big chiddush. Even get married within 3 months. So the Gemara asks immediately, Mem Gilom Beis, V'leisel Rabbi Yossi Lahafkin, Menzera. He wants to know who the child is, right? He's allowed to get married within 3 months. No one says you're allowed to get married within 3 months, because then you're not going to know who the child's from. Is it from the previous husband or from you, the new husband? The Gemara says, Leisle, maybe he doesn't hold of it. Maybe he's not concerned about it. You might say, Malolam Isle, really. Probably he does hold that. But Rabbi Yossi Omer call Arusas Grushas Ginasu. All Rabbi Yossi wants to say in the Mishnah, he said it was talking about getting married, but he's talking about the Arus is only if you're engaged. The ones that were previously engaged and they were divorced, so there's no almanas, right? There's no death of the husband. They can get married. Ihachi Hainu Rabbi Yehuda. Ika Hainu Rabbi Yehuda. In this case, he follows exactly the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda was the second opinion of the Mishnah, not the third opinion. And he said, right, if you're Arusa, you can get married. If you're Nesua, you can get engaged. So the Gemara says there is a difference. Nesua le'aris. A woman who was previously married, could she get engaged? Rabbi Yehuda Savar Nesua Muteras Aris. A previously married woman is mutter to get engaged. Rabbi Yossi Savar Nesua Asura la'aris. If there was only Erusin, she can get married. But if there was Nisuin, she can't even get engaged because she might come to get married within 3 months. But Savar Rabbi Yossi Nesua Asura la'aris. Would he argue Rabbi Yehuda that if you're previously married, you can't get engaged? Rabbi Yossi Omer Kol Nashim Yisarsu. A Brisa says he holds all the women can get engaged. Chus ben almanim they are evil, except for an almana for the first 30 days because she's an avelas. V'kama evil shalosh 30 days. V'chulan lo yunasu ad shvil hangimel chadashim. The end of the Brisa says, and all the other women can't get married until they have 3 months. So the Gemara rejects this question. Hi, my kusha. What's the problem with this Brisa? The Kasani Rabbi Yossi Omer Kol Nashim Yisarsu. That he would say that all the women can get engaged. Is it any better than our Mishnah? The Kimna about Rusas Grushina. So how can I be called Rusas Grushina? So you don't change it, not call a Nashim, but only if you're a specific type of woman, meaning you're not Rusa, who's Grusha, then you can get married. But if you're a Nesua, you can't even get engaged. Tell me Seifa. The problem is the end of the Brisa. It's not even cool. Only Nasua Adshil Gimel Chadashim. All the women can't get married until they wait 3 months. And Suwe, who the law, he's Rusei Shaper Dam, but all the women could get engaged. How could you say Rabbi Yossi holds they can't get engaged? I'm a Rabbi Tarz for Mahachi. You could still get out of this price. Rabbi Yossi Omer Kol Rusas Grusha Kinasa. Like we said, he really meant to say if you're a Rusa and you're a Grusha and you're divorced, then you can get married within 30 days. Within 90 days. Chutzpin Almana, except from the Almana, they are evil. She can't get married. She's for further 30 days because she's mourning her husband. 30 days. But in Suos, lo yisarsu ad shulhen shlosha chadashim. And we changed around the end of the Brisa. And the women who were previously married, they can't get engaged until they have 3 months. So the Gemara question is, according to this version, the way we fixed up the Brisa for Rabbi Yossi, it's going to come out that the ratio of the Brisa is talking about an almana mina erusin, and her husband died. They were only engaged, right? She was only previously engaged to her husband, then her husband died. Is there such a thing as evil to be misabel for him? Misla evil. If you're only engaged to a woman and then she dies, you don't have a ninus. A ninus is a period where before the burial where you don't say brachos, you're not mechuyev mitzvos, you don't kachim, ma'aser sheni, v'lo mitmala. He's not mitam. He's a kohen. He can't bury her. She also, she's not an onenes, and she's not mitmalo. She's not required to bury him. Meisa in a yorsha. If she dies, she doesn't inherit her. Meisu go ksuvasa. If he dies, she gets her ksuva. He didn't inherit her ksuva until nisuin. There's no real marriage technically until nisuin. Ella tnahi. So how do we forced out? So we're still bothered by this kal v'chomer, right? If Masa b'matan is aser, and Erusin is mutter. Here we're Masa by by after the husband died, you certainly had to engage in commerce, so for sure you should be able to get an Eris according to Yossi. How can you say this? Elit Tanai, it's Melgus Tanaim, it's Malchogas by Tanaim. The Tanya Rosh Chodesh had a tiny Sa'am Matan Iskay Melissa Velita and Melivna Talintoa Umla Aris Melissa from Rosh Chodesh Av until Tisha B'Av. You're supposed to lessen the amount of work you do, and commerce you do, and you're not supposed to build. And here the Brisa says actually you can't even get engaged. Additionally, the week of Tisha B'Av that occurs during, you're not allowed to also get a haircut and wash your clothes. And some say the entire month is usher even to get a haircut and wash your clothes. So you see over here, there's an opinion that says, just like it's usher to do commerce, it's usher to get engaged. So that's not a problem. And Yossi would say like this, that you see that it's on the same level, and even over here, I guess, even though commerce is allowed, but at least we can see that they could be equal. It's not a kal v'chomer anymore; they're equal. So it happens to be over here. Commerce will be mutter within 30 days, but at least Erison maybe it should be usher. And where's the Maskiv Rav Ashi? Rav Ashi has the following question: How do you know that this Bryce was talking about getting engaged? Maybe the intent of the Bryce, it means that from Rosh Chodesh Av, you can't make a Sudas Eris, you can't have a Vort. Who the Asr? Hali Ari Shab, when they actually just get engaged, to give her the engagement ring, that would be okay. So the Gemara says, Yihachi Melissa, Linase Nami, Levet Sudas Suanu, the Asr, Halisa Shabadama. If you're going to change Erison, Liaris means to the Sudas Erison. So you have to change Lisa means to make a wedding feast. But just to get married, right, without the feast, would be okay. Whereas obviously that can't be true. We're not going to allow a marriage from Rosh Chodesh Av. Even without a suda, we're not going to allow a marriage. For sure we're not going to let someone get married. So just getting married by itself, that of course brings simcha to a person. Erison below suda mika simcha. If you have a vort, you get engaged, you give her a ring, a diamond ring, and you don't make a feast for it, you're not going to have so much simcha. You're not going to have any simcha at all. So it's very possible that's what the Brisa meant, that liaris means to make a suda erison. The suda means just even to get married without a suda. So they're talking about different things. But the Brisa would agree that just the erison would be mutter. So we're back to our original question, according to Rav Ashi. You should have the kal v'chomer. There's no Brisa that says erison is usher during the 9 days. El Amar Rav Ashi, Shani Avelis Chadash and Avelis Yishana, V'Shani Avelis Derab and Avelis Yachid. In order there shouldn't be a kal v'chomer from Tisha B'Av, we'll say like this, that there's two different types of Avelis. There's Avelis over the base of Mikdash, which is Tisha B'Av. That's an Avelis Yishana, Avelis, something that happened 2,000 years ago. And there's also an Avelis Derab, a public Avelis. Here we're talking about a personal Avelis. It's more personal for her. She lost her husband. And it's an Avelis Chadasha. It's a fresh Avelis. Her husband just died, so she's more sad. So therefore, Rashi explains that it's more Machmir over here. It's an Avelis. There's more Chumras over here because it's fresh in your mind and it's a more personal Avelis. So therefore, there's more restrictions, and therefore, for 30 days, Rabbi Yossi told you couldn't even do Erison, even without a Suda. By the 9 days, by Tisha B'Av, we can see we can be more makel over there because it's not so fresh in our mind, and also it's a public one, not such a personal one. Now, the problem is Toz asks on Rashi's way. He says, "Kill." Toz asks a good question. He says, at the end of the day, you still have the kal v'chomer. Because, so Tisha B'Av is more makel over there. But still, the halacha of Tisha B'Av, that you're not allowed to do work. You're not allowed to do commerce during that time, even though it's not such a chomer avelos. You're not allowed to do commerce. And you are allowed to do erison. So certainly over here, where it's more chamura, if you're allowed to do commerce, they didn't ask for commerce, so you should be allowed to do erison also. Kal v'chomer should still stick. How do you answer that question? That will be the topic of Yom Tzion. We're going to answer it coming up right now.